Remember when
contract.
we cut each other's palms with that knife and we all lick each other, like, lick the blood off each other's palms and then kissed?
Mari Crombu Weaves, my name is Cole, his name is Mike, his name is Jay, we like anime, and this is episode 72 of the Anime Protagonist Podcast, and this week we are reviewing the Ancient Magus Bride. It's behind Jay, you can see it there if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube, I'm sorry. This was a pointless segue that I went down.
Cole, actually, it's the Ancient Magus Bride. There's actually an apostrophe after the S.
Did you just actually me?
I certainly did.
Mike,
Yeah.
you just forgot to push up your glasses.
Sorry.
Yeah. You know what? For that?
For what? For what?
For actuallying me, I am now gonna go to Jay and ask him what's on his mind.
What's on my mind? That is a very, very good question, Cole.
Don't you dare say it. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
I've been watching an anime recently.
No.
Oh,
Well,
no.
it definitely wasn't Ancient Magus' Bride.
Well, I did watch that.
Just not in a timely fashion. You watched a lot before it. Yeah.
It's Saturday
I literally
morning.
watched the whole episode or the whole series in a day. But that's not what
It's Saturday morning. We're recording Saturday morning because Jay couldn't finish it in time.
because I was busy watching a trash anime.
Okay,
A couple
good,
other
good,
shows,
Good,
yeah.
good. I'm glad you're not talking about something.
No.
Yeah.
I feel like the listeners are dying for a mid-season check-in just so I can talk about it.
I've been thinking lately that we should talk a little more about, like, we should have like a quicker like segment on the podcast of like just what we've been watching or something, like every now and then, so we don't have to wait till the seasonal review, you know.
Yeah,
But anyway,
we gotta
segue.
the
but Cole doesn't want me
anticipation.
talking about it.
The
Yeah.
anticipation.
for the
talking
listeners,
about it.
Cole doesn't want us to talk about Oshi no Ko because everybody's talking about it.
Look,
He's
all
made
I'm
Jay
saying,
swear.
all
Yeah.
I'm saying is I was right.
Yes, Jay is the only person who said Oshi no Ko was good before it came out.
No. I'm the only person on the podcast who said
Your
it was
predictive,
good.
your
Yes.
predictive power is beyond comprehension, except when it comes to trying to predict how much time you need to watch a show for a review.
No, I was actually gonna get up at 6 yesterday morning and watch it, but then I slept in.
AM?
Yeah,
Holy, you were committed, but then you
Yep.
didn't.
I got up at 8. I was
Okay,
watching
well, that's
Ancient
pretty
Magus
good.
Bride since 8 a.m. last night,
Yeah,
and I finished at 9 p.m.
Yeah, it's like 9 hours to watch the whole thing.
Anyway,
Yeah.
what
Anyway.
trashy show were you watching?
So I was watching The Fruit of Evolution.
Okay.
What?
What's that?
What?
So
I'm sorry.
it's an isekai.
It's
we're
by that guy who came up with evolution.
No, it's not
Darwin?
by Darwin. It's not by Charles Darwin.
It's by Chuck Darwin. His second cousin.
But essentially the story is about this guy who is like a big loser. Like he's canonically a big loser.
They wrote my autobiography.
That's about
He's
us.
ugly, he's fat, he smells.
Okay, what the
Feels
hell,
a little
man?
personal.
And then he eats this fruit that turns him into like a I don't want to say the word Chad because I feel like that word's thrown
An
around a lot.
Adonis.
Yeah.
An Adonis.
Yeah. And then he gets
An
a
alpha.
harem, and that's the story.
That does sound like trash.
Oh, it's absolute trash, and I love it.
Yeah, that sounds like the biggest like insert fantasy.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah. Like more than usual.
Yeah, like it's 100% like self-insert trash. Yeah, it's
Yeah. Well, I feel
was
like that's
looking
just
for
a
the word. I'm
genre
tired,
in general.
for,
like
for those of you who don't
yeah, Jay's been awake
realize that
for
yet. I've
about
been
20
awake for
minutes.
like
yeah,
I had to call to wake Jay up.
yeah. We're just sitting here.
my alarm.
We're sitting here watching New Jeans.
I guess we can touch on that for a minute. My sleep is weird. When I was a kid, my friends would have to whack me with pillows on school trips to wake me up for like 20 minutes.
Well, Jay, you're kind of the type of person that like instead of just having a routine where like this is what like your body gets used to it, you just go until like you literally fall asleep and then wake up when you're like sleep bar is refilled. You're like it's like a video game.
like in what's the word? Like
a robot?
like an alien.
Like an alien. Yeah.
Fully recharged. Yeah.
It seems more robotic than alien-like.
Out of his
straight up out of his bed with his blankets just fall off naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like I wake up to like in like a canopy bed?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
But no, like I mean, you hit it right on the money. And it's not that I don't have a routine. It's more like I just can't sleep no matter how hard I try until my body says you're tired, go to bed. It just knocks me out.
But like the thing is, if you like, I have to get up at a specific time for work every day and it's very early. So like once you get into like you do the same thing every day and you stay in that, your body naturally just starts, it's like, oh, okay, this is the time when I get tired. But because you like fluctuate so much because you go until you're like exhausted and then sleep, I think that makes it so that you can't just go to sleep because you don't have like you know what I mean? Like the brain chemicals they don't have their little thing to start going, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow, voice crack. Yeah.
Puberty sucks.
Yeah, puberty does suck at 24 years old.
I'm still going through it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Never ends.
Yeah, no, I mean I understand that to some degree. But like I've tried when I was on a schedule to go to sleep and it still didn't work.
Just didn't take.
So, yeah.
Sleep's one of those annoying things that it's hard to like.
Yeah, why do we sleep? Like what's the point?
I don't know.
You know?
I wish we didn't have to sleep. Like I wish we didn't get tired.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
that'd be sweet.
Me too.
Just
that
like unlimited stamina.
Yeah.
Like, man, that would be awesome.
Unlimited blade works.
I've always wanted to get onto like there's like another, you can basically instead of sleeping 8 hours straight, you can sleep like an hour and a half and then be up for like 4 or 5 hours and then sleep like an hour and then like be up for another 4.5 hours or whatever. And like basically you just take a series of naps and then you only have to really sleep for like 5 hours.
It's funny you mentioned that, Mike. I think the body's supposed to have 2 sets of 4 hours of sleep rather than 8 hours straight.
Well, if you look at like animals, none of them sleep for 8 hours straight, right?
Yeah.
That's not normal.
Yeah.
We're the only ones that do.
Yeah.
Well, we are weird. Humans are strange.
I think the reason we do 8 straight hours is because we think it's more efficient rather than break up our day.
I think it's for work, honestly. I think it's just like a byproduct of like the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah. Yeah. But like we're
big Industrial Revolution drop there, I know.
Yeah. This is some heavy stuff. I mean, we're an anime podcast,
We're
guys.
an anime podcast, and we're not going to talk about heavy stuff, but we are going to talk about what's on Mike's mind.
Hey, what's on my mind? Well, what's on my mind this week? I've been watching a lot of anime lately, and I watched this little anime called Oshi no Ko. Man, the first episode is so good.
It's so good. Cole needs to watch it.
And like other than that, I've also started watching a lot of my seasonal stuff that I drafted, so like Demon Slayer and all that other stuff too. And like for some reason, every show this season has like an hour to an hour and a half first episode. It's like, when did this happen? When did we all agree on this?
I don't know, but sorry, can I just quickly pause? Because people are going to be like shutting this off because they're like, this Cole guy's an idiot. He doesn't want to watch Oshi no Ko. He thinks it sucks. No, I don't think it sucks. It's probably really, really good. Probably.
He's just sick of hearing people yell about how good it is.
I'm just sick and tired of people talking about it. I'm sure that it's good, but I'm one of those people, like, if people are like, you gotta watch this show. You gotta watch it.
Wait,
you gotta watch it.
Cole,
you gotta watch
how
it.
did you get into Attack on Titan then?
You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. I like build up a resistance to it, and then I'm like, no, I don't want to watch it.
How did you get into Attack on Titan then?
I watched Attack on Titan before I got into anime.
He also watched Attack on Titan. He wasn't part of the community, and then also we watched Attack on Titan roughly the same time, which would be like right before season 2 came out, I think, or like as it was coming out.
Yeah, I think season 2
So like
was,
around
the
the
hype
time
wasn't
it
quite
kind
as
of died
intense.
down. Yeah.
yeah.
But
Anyway,
yeah, you gotta
sorry.
know Cole is like the type of person where he's like what do you call it? Like, you know when you mix cornstarch in water and like when you squeeze it, it gets really hard and doesn't move at all. The more pressure you put on Cole to do something, the less likely he is to do it. So like when everyone's like hyping something up and telling him he must watch it, he will simply do the opposite.
Yeah, I have like,
It's like a thing.
it's just tough. It's just tough for me to do it. Sorry, I just felt I had to defend myself. I'm sorry for derailing you, Michael. But yeah, what's up with these hour-and-a-half long first episodes?
Well, I've been derailed now. So, yeah, Demon Slayer's an hour. Oshi no Ko is an hour and a half. It's like a movie. Like, it's just a full-on movie.
Yeah.
With like movie budget and everything.
Yeah.
Attack on Titan was like
We'll talk about that in our mid-season
1 hour special.
check-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's so that they can justify releasing it in theaters.
You think so?
Because Oshi no Ko was released in theaters.
It
was
was released. It was
Yeah.
released at a convention
Oh.
for a conventional premiere. I think it was Anime Boston or something like that.
And same with Demon Slayer. And I mean, Attack on Titan obviously went to theaters as well. I think that's what it's for. It's just another revenue for them to collect, or another avenue for them to collect revenue.
Okay.
Yeah.
That actually makes sense because like the Demon Slayer did the same. But Demon Slayer, if they did the first 2 episodes and they did the first episode, and the first episode, it was like 50 minutes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense now that you put it that way.
I think that's what it is. But maybe I'm wrong. Probably not, though. I'm usually right.
By the way, Cole.
Yeah.
You know how I didn't watch Chainsaw Man at in fall?
Mm-hmm.
This Oshi no Ko is your Chainsaw Man.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
You'll eventually watch it once the hype dies down.
I'm sure I will. Like, it's just one of those things where I've got to let it simmer down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everybody's
Like,
treating this anime like it's the second coming, and
it's number 1 on both Annie List and Mal right now.
I'm well aware.
Yeah. No, like it's insane how much hype is getting behind this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's deserved, and like it's, again, we've talked about it before on the podcast how like shows get to number 1 on Mal like instantly sometimes, and like we're always like, oh well, why are they letting it get to number 1? Like, why are they letting people vote and rate this score? Blah blah blah. But like, I don't know, it'll go down. It's not going to stay number 1 forever.
I also feel like that first episode, like if you rate it as a movie, you know, like it was
Yeah,
really
that's
good.
what's
As a
happening.
standalone thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Plus the whole cliffhanger has been spoiled for me so many times, which is just a result of it being so popular as well.
Yeah.
See, I managed to not get spoiled until literally. Okay, so I watched the first episode. Yes. By the way, if you want to watch Oshi no Ko, look out for spoilers. I didn't really realize there was a huge spoiler that people.
Yeah, I'd
spoil.
recommend going in blind, and also don't check out the official Oshi no Ko accounts because they also posted spoilers for whatever reason.
To be fair, it's like literally it's the first episode, right?
Yeah.
It's probably in the first couple chapters, but like it's such a big
best
spoiler.
going in blind.
Yeah,
And I mean, by the time this episode, like what we're recording right now, comes out,
Episode 2
they'll
will
already
out.
be on episode 2, maybe 3. I can't even think of it.
But what I wanted to get to for my actual little discussion point here is, how do you guys feel about spoilers? Since I got spoiled on Oshi no Ko, I thought we should have a little discussion on spoilies.
I know Mike and I are basically come from
Polar
the
opposite.
opposite. Yeah, polar opposite. Like,
Mhm.
for me, I'm more of a, like, it's about the journey. Spoilers don't really bother me so much. There every now and then, like a big spoiler, like the Oshi no Ko one, I would argue is pretty vital to not know before seeing it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Promised Neverland one, where it's best not knowing.
But if I get spoiled for something, like, that's not going to ruin the enjoyment of a show for me.
Mhm.
Like, I'll still find something else to like. That's kind of where I come from. If I get spoiled for something, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I know Mike is kind of the opposite. He really, really hates spoilers. You really got to tiptoe around Michael.
Well, okay, so like, I used to be more anti-spoiler, I would say, and I think me and Cole in this little argument we're having here, we used to be further on the spectrum on either side of like, and I'm fully for spoilers, and then I'm fully against spoilers. But I think in our old age, I've come more to the middle where like,
well, I think both of us have.
Yeah,
I think both of us have even come because now
that's
now
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Now I can appreciate not being spoiled. Like I'll resist spoilers from time to time, whereas before, like I'd go on like the Wikipedia
movies.
page and like
yeah, it drove me nuts. We'd go see movies, Jay, and Cole would like read the entire synopsis before we went to see the movie.
Oh God!
And I'd be like, "What are you doing? Why are you just watch the movie?"
or so, like when both of you guys went to see Spider-Man, Cole just like knew the whole movie.
Yeah, that was. I don't know. That one's a little bit different because like the whole. I think it's safe to spoil. Yeah, I think it's safe to spoil that now. Like it was even in trailers.
Yeah.
Like that was more speculation. Right.
Yeah. There was a point when even like before the movie came out where people were sharing clips of it online. And I do remember watching those.
You're talking about No Way Home, right?
Yeah, like the most recent
Just want to
Spider-Man.
make sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, Cole, I think we've come more to the middle, like we were saying, where like if I get spoiled on minor stuff, it doesn't really bother me. It's just like the big stuff, like the Oshi no Ko one and stuff, where it's like, oh well, that when it ruins the emotion I'm supposed to feel in something, you know what I mean? That's when I don't like it. But it is what it is. Yeah,
I think
Jay, you haven't voiced any voice on this issue.
Yeah,
how do you feel?
Voice your voice.
Tell us your voice.
So I always have been kind of in the middle, where like it depends on it depends on what the thing is that I'm being spoiled. Like if it's like something like I don't know. I can't really think of a minor spoiler. But like,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Like if it's a minor spoiler, then it's like I don't really care. Or if it's like something that like I know would get me into the show, if you know what I mean. Like like it doesn't like change the whole direction of the show, but like I know that if I were told it would actually get me into it. Then I'm like,
here's my thing with
spoilers for sure.
Yeah. Here's my thing with spoilers, coming at it from a Star Wars point of view. In Return of the Jedi, and I'm going to use Star Wars as an example because the spoiler I'm going to use everybody knows. Like it's a part of our
Luke,
lexicon.
I am your father thing.
Jay, spoilers.
Jay
it's
has
literally
to say the correct
most
line.
popular spoiler of all time. If you don't know what that is, then I'm surprised.
A minor spoiler would be in Return of the Jedi, like Luke fights the Rancor.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Technically a spoiler, but like it's not plot relevant. You know,
I just
knowing
think,
that.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear that Star or the no, I am your father line. By the way, I always think of The Simpsons, where Homer's walking out of Star Wars and he goes, "I can't believe Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's
father." Yeah. And anyway, because you were trying to come up with minor versus major spoilers, a major spoiler would be, "No, I am your father."
Yeah.
Darth Vader is Luke's father. That's a major spoiler.
Yeah.
And not knowing that
it
in
ruins
1980.
the moment. Yeah.
I mean, now.
So now it's
everybody
like whatever.
But
so if I were to hear like Luke fights the Rancor, or like even Luke saves Han, right? Like I'd be like, okay, whatever. That like that makes sense.
Yeah, or
right?
Han escapes the carbonite freezing, and it's like, that's a spoiler.
But
everybody would know that.
Yeah,
everybody would know that because Han's in the trailers and stuff.
Or maybe a more anime relevant one is like when we were at Weiss Schwartz not too long ago, and I was playing my Attack on Titan deck, and one of our friends there noticed that all of the cards I had were Eldians. He's like, "What does that mean? What is an Eldian?" And I'm like, "How do I answer that?"
Yeah. How do I answer that without spoiling like everything. the main twist of Attack on Titan?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which I'm not going to spoil because that's recent enough.
And if you haven't watched, it takes like 3 seasons to really get to what that means. So it's kind of a deep, hard spoiler. I just don't want to do, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of like a lot of lore that needs explain.
But people probably already know the answer to it anyway at the same time. I think that's enough about spoilies, though. Maybe we should move on to
I think we all kind of agree.
Yeah.
Really. We're all kind of in the middle.
It depends on what they are.
Yeah.
It's not black or white, but it is time for what's on Cole's mind.
My mind is large and full of spoilers. And let me tell you one. Did you know that in Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, it is revealed that Darth Vader is Luke's father?
Yeah,
the
he says,
entire
Luke,
time?
I am your father.
No, he says, no, I am your father.
No, I am your father.
I've seen it. He says, Luke, I am your father.
Luke, I am your father.
Luke, bro, listen, I am your father.
Bruh, Luke, I'm your father.
Bruh, really, I'm your father, Luke.
Bro, I'm your father, bro.
Bro, like bro. I am your father, bro.
I'm not your bro.
I'm your father. I'm so sorry to listeners for having to listen to us say bro over and over again.
This
Sorry,
is like
bro.
a Seinfeld skit.
I'm not your bro. I'm your father.
Three
bro.
nerds pretend to be bros. Nice.
Yeah, bro. Anyway, bros and bruettes. What is on mine mind? My camera's very blurry. I'm sorry to everybody about this.
Put your hand on it and then like pull it away. It fixes it every time.
Here's what I'm gonna do. Didn't work. I'm going to talk about my playthrough of Final Fantasy VII Remake. I finished it. It is spoilers. It's a really good game.
Yeah.
Lots of fun. I really like the combat system in it. Of course, it's gorgeous.
How was that final battle music?
Is it Sephiroth?
Just keep saying
things?
Sephiroth over and over again.
Oh, it's One Winged Angel. Yeah,
I was gonna say, is it One Winged Angel? I couldn't remember the name for a second.
It's
there.
it's a remake.
One-armed angel.
It's a remake of One Winged Angel, and it sounds so good.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Sephiroth is the final boss. Go figure.
Oh, I think you'll fight him a few more times, Cole.
Yeah, probably. See, here's the thing. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're not at this part yet," and I'm like, "I know I'm not at that part yet." This game ends here. I keep having this argument with my friend at work. He's like, "Oh, this major plot point hasn't happened yet. Like, you've got a long way to go." And it's like, yes.
No, he's done. You're done that
but
part one
I
of part
finished
3.
this game. This game is done.
Yeah. So from what I understand, the remake ends like literally a frame before you're sent into the open world.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. As someone who's played the original, I don't know if Jay, have you played 7? Like the original one?
I haven't beaten
I think you played
Midgar.
Remake, right?
Yeah, I've beaten Remake. I haven't beaten Midgar in the original. So
okay, so you haven't actually made it out past
no
Remake Part 1.
Yeah.
Okay, but everybody knows, I think, the big spoiler at the end of the original, right? That's what Cole's referring to, is what happens with 2 main characters there at the end. But one argument that we were having yesterday, Cole, is, do you think they're going to change that?
Yes. That's the whole point of the remakes. It's a different timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, because, like,
I don't know. Maybe they they reconverge at the end, but that's like that's a whole plot point in the remake, is that
they're changing
like
the timeline.
They're diverging from,
and that's
why the original timeline.
That's why those like spirit things were coming out, because
and see, like,
the whole timeline's being changed.
This is interesting because I've played the original, but I haven't played the remake, so I don't know what's different about it, but I've heard they do some stuff different. I need it. I own it. I'm like you, Cole, like where you said you've had it for like forever.
I've had it
and
for years, and I just never got around to it. What I will say, Mike, is because you have a PS5.
Yeah, I got the Integrate already.
Yeah, just pay the $26 and get the DLC. Playing as Yuffie, this is what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, here we go. Best girl.
Playing
right?
as I don't know. Like, I like Tifa more. Yuffie's fun and all, but playing as Yuffie is top tier. She is so much fun to play as, like way more fun than Cloud. Yeah.
So because I don't have a PS5, I haven't gotten to play Integrate yet.
Oh no.
So I don't know anything about how Yuffie plays or anything.
Oh, she just flies around and she's fast and
I
she's a good character in like the original one too. So that,
I know a lot of people
sense.
like Yuffie.
I thought people hate Yuffie. I like Yuffie enough.
I don't think people hate Luffy.
Luffy?
I hate Luffy. I hate Luffy.
Oh, yes, you do hate Luffy. She's like the original DLC character, though, because like if you didn't know, you could play through the entire game before and not even like encounter her at all, and you wouldn't miss it at all.
Yeah.
That's how old JRPGs used to be. Like you could just not. You could just miss a ton of stuff.
And it came out on like those that came out on PS1, but like the earlier Final Fantasy games came out on like
SNES.
Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like, how did they fit all of this?
1 to 6 came out on, not 1 to 6. Well, technically, Final Fantasy 2 and 3 came out on SNES, but that's 4 and 6.
Actually, no, I don't have an actually for you.
No, actually.
Yeah. What was I going to say? No, I forgot.
Beep, oh, okay. Should we go into the mailbag?
Let's go into the mailbag. See, here's the thing, though, with the mailbag. I really like going into the mailbag. You know why I like going into the mailbag?
Why do you like going into the mailbag?
Because we have a theme song for it.
The mailbag.
What a nice theme song.
What a nice song.
It's great. Yeah. I've been meaning to like make more theme songs for us because I like them. I like the stingers a lot. They're fun.
Mm-hmm. You did a good job on these stingers. Mike made the stingers. Let's have a round of applause for Mike. Okay, that's enough.
That's enough of that. Real quick one here because we ran long with our questions there.
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna put a kibosh on our previous planning thing, and maybe we'll just do mailbag, do our question of the week that we discussed, and then we'll just go into the review after.
Okay.
Because we're already at a half hour, so
yeah, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just gonna do mailbag, and the one we have this week is. Oh no, I've lost it. It accidentally scrolled on me. Basically,
I remember it.
Bunny,
it was
Bunny asked us what our. Just try to find the exact one. I like reading it. Here we go. Bunny said, "I don't even know if y'all will be able to do this one, but I think it's a very good thing to ask anyway." By the way, they wrote IDEK, and because my brain is rotten, I instantly know what that means. Mm-hmm. It's just weird when you see things now and you're like...
Truly, we are in the age of 1984, like with Newspeak and stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
With Leet Speak?
Leet Speak?
No, Leet Speak. L337 or 1337.
Yeah.
Jay, you're too young for Leet.
No. I am elite.
Okay.
No. Eli Manning, elite quarterback.
They want to know. We all love the Anime Protagonist podcast. Questionable.
Yeah,
but what are the
debatable.
What are the hosts' favorite podcasts? And then they say, I think if the right person hears it, there may be a collab incoming with the eyes emoji. And then we all quizzed upon that, and then it didn't seem to be going anywhere. So probably not. Don't get your hopes up.
Yeah,
don't get your hopes up.
Jay, tell us, what are your favorite podcasts?
My favorite podcast. So the one I have been listening to a lot lately is Disc Only.
Okay, what's
Disc
that?
Only.
So it basically started out where a streamer on Twitch would play a game that people would like donate to get them to play. And one of the games that came up in their stream was the Game Boy player, but only with the disc, without the Game Boy game inserted. And if you don't know what the Game Boy player is, just for a bit of background, it's basically a GameCube attachment that lets you play Game Boy Advance or Game Boy games on your GameCube.
Yeah.
And it has a disc that you have to put in to be able to make it work. So Disc Only he was playing the Game Boy player with just the disc in, which is nothing. So he was just talking. So
that it turned into a podcast. Okay, I like that.
Cool.
That's like a cool like genesis of a podcast.
Yeah.
So like we know how the podcast started. Like, what is it about though? Like, does it talk about video games or?
So they talk about whatever they want. Like, there's no real structure to it. he just invited like 3 other friends on afterward that like he knew he could like start up a conversation with,
banter with.
I kind of think that's key for podcasts. You need to have a healthy amount of like banter and like side jobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
wrong word for that. Tangents.
Yeah.
Tangents, side jobs, hustles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all on the black market.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like it's a very interesting podcast. And like they just talk about whatever, but they're all very good at it. So yeah, definitely would recommend it. Very, very, very good.
Yeah, those just the bantery podcasts are good. They make you feel like you're a part of the group.
You're part of the family.
Yeah.
Put up a picture of Vin Diesel.
Are great for the working man as well, because you can like throw one on while you're working, and you can kind of like it just occupies your mind a little bit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
keeps the screaming away from.
Yeah, I guess Cole doesn't probably get much of that though, because you work with the public a lot of the time.
No, in the afternoons at my work now, I can pop in a single earbud and
there you go.
Away I go.
Yeah.
What are you listening to in your earbud there, though, Mike?
That's what I was about to say.
I didn't know it was going to be thrown to me. I have been listening to basically the same podcast for forever. I listened to this great one called the Anime Protagonist No, I'm kidding.
No, that's
a terrible one. Why would you listen to them?
I've been a faithful listener of like 3 or 4 podcasts for like probably 5 or 6 years at this point. First one is called Puckle, Pokemon Underground Champions League. It's a Pokemon podcast where they just basically they're all like kind of roughly my age or a little older, so they kind of have like the same viewpoints on a lot of Pokemon stuff, which I appreciate. And then it's where I kind of get my healthy dose of like what I would call like advanced level Pokemon knowledge. I know it sounds dumb. It sounds dumb, but like most Pokemon podcasts just talk like very like surface level, or like they don't really understand a lot of like the competitive stuff, or like these guys will, like, if you tell them a Pokemon, like a name Pokemon number 895, they can like narrow it down to within a few or something like that. Or like if you ask them, okay, what's the speed boost if you have Sandstorm and then also Sandstream going, like they'll just know it off the top. Or if you stuff like that, it's just, I don't know, it's nice to have a level of like knowledge as in addition to like talking about what I know and a viewpoint that matches up. The other one I've been listening to forever is Around the NFL. It's actually like it's an official NFL podcast. Like they work for the NFL, but they kind of like started as like rogue, like they kind of weren't supposed to start a podcast, and then they just it's cool to listen to them because they're not like jocks, they're all like sports writers who are just basically like another way to say sports nerds. And they just like basically talk about like very random, kind of like this, where we'll just like be talking and then like a weird little tangent will happen and they'll go down that rabbit hole, and you're like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be an NFL podcast. And they're talking about, like, there's a running joke on it where the main host, he like just hates Star Wars, and there's another host on it that just loves Star Wars. So every time that he brings up Star Wars, he just like will just pretend to like not understand Star Wars at all. He'll be like, oh yeah, there's that famous line, like isn't Luke like Darth Vader's uncle or something? And then the other guy just gets super upset. Stuff like that's great, right? That's the stuff you remember.
Yeah, it's like the One Piece running gag in this podcast.
Yeah.
That Cole hates One Piece?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Like, you know, where Luffy is Zoro's uncle or something?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
And last podcast I really like is a little more relevant to this. It's called the Anime Addicts Anonymous podcast. I've listened to them for a long time as well. They probably inspired a healthy dose of this show, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big
like,
time.
I know I got Cole into them for a brief while there, too, so... And they're great. They're great people. I've talked to them in a Discord. I've been on their show as, like, a contestant for... they have this segment called Does Mitsugi's Mom Know? And it's hilarious, because they just get the main host's mom to, like... They'll have, like, basically a quiz where they ask her a question, and if you just basically have to predict whether she knows the answer or not. And it's basically impossible to win because she's just like the ultimate wild card. But anyway, that's enough out of me. Cole, what podcast do you like?
Well, first of all, I love this question. I love it because it's basically allows us to talk about like our influences, I guess. Because this is what we do.
Good question. Good question, buddy.
Yeah. So I'll start by cheating a little bit because this one isn't a podcast. I'll list 2 or 3. This one isn't really a podcast. It's a long-running YouTube channel. I'm sure a lot of our listeners know about it. It's Red Letter Media. They basically review movies and whatnot, similar to what we do, kind of, but like they're strictly movie reviews. They'll watch old bad movies and kind of just review it. It's a lot of fun listening to them. Same kind of vibes as what Jay was talking about with his podcast. It's you're watching these friends all discuss these horrible movies that they all like are passionate about, and it's a lot of fun to watch. The next one, I hate to get a little political, but I love this podcast so much. It's called the QAnon Anonymous Podcast.
Oh, yeah. Cole's talked about this before.
Yeah. It's basically about kind of the current political climate in the United States. And they kind of dive in on like conspiracy theories and stuff like that and why people fall into them. But it's just 3...
And why they're true.
And why they're true. No.
Let's not go too deep into it.
They're quite critical, and I'm not going to go too deep into it because everybody's entitled to their own opinions. But it's a great podcast too because the 3 guys are very knowledgeable, but also funny and engaging, and they have a good rapport amongst themselves as well.
That's key, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think I'll stop there. That's enough. That's usually what I'm listening to. That's what I try to aspire for. Anime Addicts Anonymous as well. Like I used to listen to them a lot more, but my bandwidth can only take me so far.
That's the thing, is if you don't. Yeah, it's hard to listen to a super long podcast weekly and keep up to it sometimes.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
You do fall off, and then the nice thing about podcasts is if you fall off, you can always just like come back to them and
Just dive
you don't
back
really
in.
miss much. Yeah, unless it's like a daily news or something like that. But I stopped listening to those because it takes up too much time.
The only thing I know about that podcast is there was one time where Mike was like, I think they listened to us.
Yeah, I had this little theory that like one of the hosts, Mason, might have listened to us at one point, at least once. But if you're listening to Mason, hi, we like you. Cole's your spirit. You're Cole's spirit animal.
Yeah, I've said that multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a good news podcast. It's called Up First. It's like 15 minutes. It's a nice short news podcast too. I'll throw out to them too. I think it's
New York Times.
No, I think it's NPR.
Does it have Andrew Barbato or whatever his name is? Or no?
No,
Okay,
no,
never mind.
no.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about too, but yeah. Anyway, that's enough.
That's enough.
That's enough. What we were planning to do was to go through our spoiler-free review section here, but we're running a little long, so we'll just go to a break. But before we go to a break, what we're going to do is change up the formula a little bit as well. What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing because you're like, we're going to go back to our old ways, but we're going to change it up.
We're going to change it up a little bit because normally what we would do is
double twist.
We do a review, and at the end of our review, it's my turn, so I would announce what show we're gonna review next.
Yeah.
But this time, we're gonna leave it up to the listeners. All 3 of us have a show.
Oh, it's wild.
All 3 of us have a show, and then we're gonna let people vote to see which show we're going to review next. So, without any further ado, why don't we reveal the shows that we are proposing people to vote on? Let's start with Jasif. So you got some hints for us? Let's see if we can guess them.
I do have some hints. All
Let's
right.
guess.
All right.
Oshi
So
no
the show might be a little bit out of left field. It's by Studio Brain Space. It's an anime original show.
Okay.
24 episodes long.
Okay.
It's available on High Dive. And the creator also did a show featuring Kappa. Like the frog things or whatever they are.
Oh, this is ringing a bell, but I'm not good with names. I can't bring it up. What is it, Jake? Oh wait, Cole's getting gas.
Yeah.
No, it's on the tip of my tongue as well. Like the Kappa.
The Kappa thing was a good hint.
Yeah, the Kappa hint is
that weird show where it like climbs in people's butts or whatever.
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what this show is.
I can't remember who did it though. Yeah, what is it, Jay?
The show that I am pitching is Penguin Drum.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I've wanted to watch that for a while.
Okay. Mike, do you want to go next?
Sure. My show is 12 episodes long.
Okay. Nice and
Came
short.
out in 2018.
Nice and new.
By Studio 0G. It's a comedy, slice of life, and sports anime that features hunky men and beautiful girls playing in the ocean.
Oh, is it Grand Blue?
It's Grand Blue Dreaming.
Grand Blue Dreaming.
That's my suggestion for us to watch. It's rated 82% on AniList, so it must be pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, well, here's my show for you guys. It's from the distant future, the year 2006.
Okay.
Ooh.
It's 23 episodes. It's by the legendary anime studio, Man Globe.
I've never heard of that.
It's a pretty famous anime. It's sci-fi, cyberpunk as well. You guys won't get it. It's Ergo Proxy.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've heard of it.
So, yeah, that is my proposal. I think I was playing Signalis or Cialis as I've come to call it. And I thought this was would be cool to review. Yeah.
On brand.
Yeah, let's run through them one more time. Jay.
I propose Penguin Drum by Studio Brainspace.
Michael.
I propose Grand Blue Dreaming.
And I am
something.
Yeah, it was 0G.
Zero G.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I'm proposing Ergo Proxy by that studio. I can't even remember.
Mad Lad or something?
Man Globe or something?
Man Globe. That's what
Man
it was.
Hands?
Man Globe.
Man Hands.
Yeah.
Man Hands. Anyway, that's enough. You guys have heard enough of us.
Where? Cole.
Yeah.
Where can they vote on these things as the music swells up over us?
They can vote everywhere. If you're listening to us on Spotify, there will be a nice poll underneath that you can use in the description. If you come to our Discord, of course, come to our Discord. You can vote there. We'll have a Twitter poll. We'll have polls everywhere. So that means you can vote as many times as you want on as many things as you want. Well, no, you can only vote once on as many things as you want.
You can vote as many times as long as it's once.
You can vote for as many accounts as you have on that specific thing that you're voting.
Yeah. So subscribe to us on literally everything. Yeah. Yes. Links to everything's at our website. AniPro.com. Let's go to a break.
Welcome back to the Anime Protagonist Podcast. As you can hear, our co-hosts are singing their favorite Nickelback song, Pants Feet by Nickelback, as I cough into the mic. Great. This is a great second half already.
Look it up.
Yeah. Cole will post it in the meme chat in our Discord. Come to our Discord, AniProPod.com for links. What else do I need to say here? Oh yeah, we're reviewing Ancient Magus Bride, finally. The review everyone's been waiting for.
Finally.
Yes. If you've been paying attention over the many, many years that we've been doing this podcast, you might have a good inclination as to one of us whether or not we like this show, but we need to find out what the other two of us who have not seen it think.
Well, I think we should guess what we all thought of it.
Wow, that is crazy. I was thinking the same thing.
Whoa.
Yeah. Why don't we
were all thinking the same thing.
Let's take a quick hot minute here, guys. Extra spicy. And let's say what each other thinks of this show.
Okay.
Without using the word apprehension.
Easily. Yes, I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
am disappointed
for the word
I was disappointed that you used a word that I am so...
You use it a lot.
I use that word so often, so I'm really going to have to think about...
Okay, I'll add a second word that you can't use. Okay. Oshi.
I'll add one. No.
Okay.
I'll add one. Co.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
You know, it's funny. It's funny. I said before we started recording, I'm like, Jay, you're not allowed to talk about Oshi no Ko.
You just
That's
did
my
it,
rule.
Cole. 3 words at once.
And we've spent probably a collective 10 minutes talking about this show at my prompt.
I know. Cool. Here's the thing.
It was me.
Here's the thing. You should know better. You should know better. You should know.
I know that.
Yeah.
Listen. There's something fundamentally wrong with us.
Yeah.
And me.
Especially
specifically.
all of us. But anyway, Cole, what do you think me and Jay thought of this show?
I'm just gonna go out on a limb. No. My hint is going to give away what I thought of it. So can we start with somebody else?
Okay.
Or my
Mike,
guess is
start.
gonna
Mike,
I'll go.
no, Mike, start. I started the last one.
I think that Cole loves this show. I think that he thinks it's more or less a perfect show.
It's an interesting take.
I think Jay, partially due to the way he consumed it, which is all at once in like an 8-hour stretch,
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
probably thinks it's okay, but maybe couldn't quite get into it. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jay, what do you think?
I think Cole thinks the show's a 9 out of 10.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
And Mike, I don't think he liked it as much as Cole does, but he definitely did really like it.
Okay. It's an interesting take.
Okay, interesting. My take would be, and maybe this is a hot take because Jay is usually a wild card, but I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say I believe this show will receive universal praise from the three of us.
Ooh.
I have some apprehension in stating that. Ah, I said the wrong word.
I thought
And-
that was intentional, honestly.
No, of
I
course it
honestly
was.
did too. Yeah. And on top of
I
that
think,
too, you
I think
you also have to bleep out your swear word there.
Yeah, Mike, I know.
He also said Oshi no Ko.
He also said Oshinoko.
I should censor out every bleep out every time we say Oshi no Ko.
Yeah.
So it just looks like we're swearing, and then
Yeah.
we're just like, man, it's so good.
Yeah.
Bleep is so good.
Universal praise though, eh?
I think I think it'll not like universal like this is the best. I mean like we all liked it. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what I say.
Okay.
So I'll just start with revealing my thoughts. What am I revealing here? I love this show. I liked it. Go figure.
Yeah.
Jay, who started it? Jay?
Mike.
Was it Jay? Mike.
Mike.
Jay. Hi,
Mike.
I'm Mike.
Hi, Mike.
I also like this show. I don't know if it was. I don't think I can quite say it was a perfect show in any way, but it was good. It's worth watching for sure.
That's kind of where I'm at. I liked it. I can't really say I loved it.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah,
love
I mean-
is strong, but I would say really liked is apt.
I think what takes something from liking to loving it is just the content of it. Like that is just a personal thing. Love is a non like it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's not objective. It's subjective. Yeah. Being good is objective. And I think the show is objectively good. I'd say.
Yeah.
Spoilers?
I'd say
I would
it's,
say that's not.
I'd say it's good. I wouldn't say it's great.
Yeah.
It definitely has enough things that you can point at and say this is a reason why this show isn't great. Like the one thing everyone points to is kind of the pacing of the of the show as a whole, and then of each episode as well are two things you could talk about for sure.
So the thing I was going to say is like it feels kind of like an interesting package with like a very slow center, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
It's a bit hollow inside.
I think what like people say like, oh, the pacing's kind of weird and stuff. They've got a lot of world building that they have to do in this show.
Yeah,
they've got to stop.
I understand that.
They've got to stop and explain like how mages are different from sorcerers
and how magic works, how everything
works, and how mages like basically ask fairies to help them do magic. Like that's what they do.
I get what you're saying, Cole, but just because you have to do something doesn't mean it's like, it doesn't make it the right thing or the perfect thing, right?
No. And
But-
I'm just saying I think that's
agree.
what leads to the slow
Yeah,
pace.
no, that's
It's-
what leads to it. Absolutely. I don't think that like there was anything that could have been done to make it better
I mean,
because it kind of set itself up for it.
I'll listen to people say like there are things to. It's got the same issue for me as like something like Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen spends a lot of time
and
explaining how everything works.
Yeah, and the show's exposition honestly is why I don't really like Jujutsu Kaisen, because like
Kind of
it's
why I dropped
very
the manga as well.
Yeah,
But Jujutsu Kaisen also has action.
yeah,
Crazy action. This show doesn't really like
so
it's
there's
like
one-
blah blah blah
there-
blah blah blah
yeah,
blah blah blah.
there is one
Chise's in
thing-
danger.
Yeah, there is one thing that's comes into the show from time to time that makes it like much better, and I'll get into that in our spoiler time.
What I was saying. The show basically comes down. Yeah, the show comes down to this. Blah 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 blah. Chise's in danger. Blah 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 blah. Elias saves her.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. That's the show. And
More or
like
less.
when Elias saves her, it's really cool.
Yeah.
But it only lasts like 2 seconds.
And the cool part too is like the real I'd call it the small B plot of the show that happens over and over. But like the A plot is definitely Chise getting over her like trauma, right? That's the real reason you're watching this show, is to watch someone deal with and get over their trauma.
Well, the whole thing of the show, and maybe this is a good point. Mike, do you still have those reviews up that we were talking about before? There's one review
yes, I can pull them up.
specifically. If you could just read the review. I think it was the last one you read.
Okay. I went to AniList and just kind of pulled up the reviews, and I think this might be a good thing to start doing going forward. If we remember, we won't remember.
We won't remember.
This review comes from AniList, and it is Uma verdiera obra prima.
Not
I think you wanted to talk about that. Oh, that's not the one you wanted to talk about?
That one.
Okay. I think probably the most apt one here, and maybe the one you're talking about, is a truly enchanting journey to lose yourself in if you can work around its pacing problems and other inconsistencies. Is that the one you wanted?
No. Interesting one.
Was it an interesting premise, but fails to really do much with it and ends up being a plain and bland show? Is that the one?
No, it's the one about the characters, Mike.
Is
The
it
one about the characters.
I remember reading one where they talked about how she teaches him to be more human, he teaches her to be a mage.
Yeah, that's kind of the premise, right?
Yeah.
Great visuals and soundtrack. Characterization could do with some improvements, and a lackluster ending. The lackluster ending, to be fair, is like because it's not done.
Yeah, the show's
it's not done.
It's not done.
I am curious to know what you guys thought of characterizations in this. Because I think that's this show's strongest point.
Jay, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I did read a couple reviews before just to like see what other people thought of it.
I always like to do the same thing because I kind of it puts ideas in my head and also lets me think of new things based on what they've said.
And like I remember reading a lot of people saying that like the characters were very flat and the characters were like they all felt the same, but like I never really got that.
I didn't either.
No.
Like
I honestly think that there's two things that are borderline perfect in the show. The OST.
Oh, the OST is phenomenal.
The
Which
OST is
weird,
incredible.
Because I saw quite a few people. I saw like mixed reviews on the OST, but like I thought it was great.
Yeah,
It was like honestly like the like main theme.
Yeah.
Like whenever whenever there's like a sting, it uses that like same theme, and it's so good. Like
It's
you never
so
hear
good.
anime do that. And the fact like it uses like cool like Celtic sounding music and stuff. Like it's just really cool. But the characters in the show I think are terrific, specifically the two leads, like Elias and Chise.
I think the reason why someone might think that the characters are not great is because they do have a little bit of like, if you look at them ultra big picture, they kind of are samey. Like ultra big picture. I'm talking like, what do? Okay, they meet Chise, they help her deal with something.
Yeah.
They start off as kind of maybe a morally questionable character, and then they end up being a good guy in the end, and they help Chise. That's kind of like the thing that they all do, but they're all unique and interesting enough on their own as people that it kind of plays off it.
I think we'll be able to dive into this more like post spoilers, but I just like the relationships and stuff in the show are like some of the most complex, interesting like dynamics, especially between Shisei and Elias. Like, it's so, you don't see shows do that, and I think it's really cool. But I think another thing that the show does really well is its first OP.
Oh, its first OP is very, very good. I probably wouldn't listen to it outside of the show.
I really like the first OP. It's got like a cool like Latin feel.
Yeah,
it's
like, no. What I'm saying is like it really did fit the show really well. But I probably wouldn't listen to it in a vacuum.
Yeah, I mean that's personal.
Yeah,
that's personal taste.
Yeah.
But the first OP is definitely much more interesting. Like the use of colors and like the opening shots of her like
where she's. I love that shot where she's like on her own and there's like this colored line and it like does a really good job of like showing her isolation.
And it almost looks like an interpretive dance. Like it's really cool.
Yeah.
It kind of is an interpretive dance, really.
Pretty much is.
The first OP doesn't fall into the trap that the second OP does, which is the second OP is a huge letdown.
Yeah.
Really? I thought it was
the
okay.
first time. This is the first time we've done a show with two OPs.
I know. This is exciting.
Yeah, the second OP is basically just clips from the show.
The first OP also has clips from the show, to be fair.
It's got a few,
but it has more original stuff to set it out from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incidentally, the new OP for it is also a banger, like for season 2.
Like for season 2? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. The second OP is skippable for me.
Yeah, I literally did skip it all the time because I was just trying to rush through the show.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's incidental to your time management.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. To be clear to the listeners, we're ragging on Jay because we give each other a month to watch each of these shows that we review.
To be clear, in addition to a month of allowable time for him to watch it, I've also been bugging him for 2 weeks to watch it.
Cole, remember how I bugged you to watch Oshi no Ko and you didn't? Yeah,
but here we are.
Here we are. Ancient Magus Bride had the same effect on me.
There's a fundamental difference, though. One of them is you're contractually obligated to watch.
Yes, you signed your
Remember
contract.
when we cut each other's palms with that knife and we all lick each other, just lick the blood off each other's palms and then kissed? That's the contract.
Wait, where I don't think I was there when you guys.
You had one too many beers.
Okay. Yeah, the OP1 is great. I think it's great. I even really like the song. It went right onto my playlist.
See, I'm going to have to politely push back on you, Cole. I liked OP1, but I think I liked OP2 better just because it has a little more like dynamics to it. It's a little more interesting to look at. Whereas you are a sucker for a black screen with like a solo character and then a bunch of colors. And I'm a sucker for a lot of motion and a lot of like pretty visuals and stuff like that, and like basically like fireworks happening, which is what the second OP is. It has lots of people like running around and jumping and like that phoenix thing flying around in the night sky, and I that one did more for me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just
personal taste,
just
right?
Personal taste.
Yeah.
So now, Jay, break the tie. Which is your favorite of the two?
The first one's better.
There you go. I think the first one's the more iconic one for sure.
Objectively, the first one's better.
Especially that like opening like Latin-ish chorus that it does. Yeah. I felt like the EDs were kind of forgettable though. I don't even
remember the EDs.
I didn't mind the ED because like it served its purpose of like because we used this analogy before of like drying off after going to like a water park, and to me it felt like it did.
I like it. Yeah.
I like the second ED more. But not much happens visually in these EDs.
Yeah,
so that is basically
the first one
based
literally starts on like a black screen with scrolling credits, right? So like,
the second ED, the song is better, so that's kind of my tiebreaker there. There's not much difference between the two. We kind of touched on this a little bit. The OST for this show is
amazing.
I think Here I'm gonna say a big thing, and you guys can push back against it, and I'm sure you will. Possibly among the best OSTs in anime.
I don't think you're wrong, but you're wrong.
I welcome it.
I don't disagree with you, honestly, but I just can't see it's not. It's a type of OST. It's the best OST of its type in anime, I'd say. It's not the type of OST where you're going out and like buying the album and listening to it. It's not making it on any playlists. It's nothing like that. But
if somebody does that, they're a weirdo.
So
it perfectly is like accentuating and like enhancing the show. If that's what I look,
the thing I was gonna say is it's the best Ancient Magus Bride OST. And by that I mean like it's the best it possibly
It's perfect
could
for the
be.
show.
Yeah. And you know what the interesting thing is? I was kind of doing a little bit of like looking into the background of the show, and I think this is like the guy who did the OST for this show, like the sound director. I think this is his first time at the first kick of the can, like his first
A lot
gig.
of them had their first time with this show.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
And
really
they did
cool.
a good job at it, and it looks really good.
I think
Yeah.
that's one takeaway that I realized as I was watching the show, and I've kind of like known this in the back of my head for a while, is man, I love Wit. Wit does good stuff with they know
great.
they get it. They know
They know
how
what
to
they're
have
doing.
like the right amount of animation to make things look just good enough for what you need. And then also have like some like Sakuga, obviously. And then also at the same time, they know, all right, we need to have like sound is important. Sound needs to be good. We need to at least pay attention to it, right? And then usually they knock it out of the park.
And that's one thing that, speaking of sound, that I really appreciated, especially in the first episode, was the Foley work. Like the footsteps sounded really good. The rattling of her chains sounded really good. When the door to their house opened, it sounded like the creaking, like sounded so good.
An interesting thing too is like in the like speaking of Foley work, when like Elias, like there's that bit where he's like alone in the house and it's so quiet, like there's it's just basically like silent.
It's like a sound vacuum.
Yeah.
It's like the total absence of sound, like negative, like it's like negative noise.
Yeah,
which is like kind of a soundtrack in its own right. But yeah, it takes like it sounds kind of dumb, but it takes like at least you need to think about it and know what you're doing to make a soundtrack like this.
Yeah.
You strip away all of the ambient noise and stuff like that. It's really good. Going back to what Jay said about how the OST is the best Ancient Magus Bride OST, I really like that point. That's
a good take.
That's a really good take. But you have, I think what makes it among the best OSTs is that you can't take an OST as an OST in a vacuum.
No,
it is a compliment to the show.
Yes.
And it's a perfect OST for Ancient Magus Bride.
Yeah. You know what I just thought of? Sorry to
what?
derail you. You said this is what you just said, and then I said no, and it made sense, and Jay said yes, and it made sense, and we said the same thing. It's a very Canadian thing, I feel like. Saying,
the use of yes and no is completely like
arbitrary.
Just
Context.
arbitrary.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Voice acting in the show was also really, really good. Now, the obligatory question. Michael, did you watch this sub or dub?
I watched this one 100% in dub. I didn't watch a single second of the sub. Because the dub is mighty fine. And, like I said with Cyberpunk Edgerunners, when a show is set not in Japan, sometimes I just feel the dub kind of works better. And I don't know if that's necessarily true for this one, but
I wonder about this because it's very regional, right? It takes place in the UK.
Yeah.
Do they have English accents?
No.
Interesting.
So here was my question about the dub. How do they pronounce Elias's name?
Elias.
Is it Elias? Okay.
Yeah, which is how you would say it. Like, if you meet a guy and you see that name written down on a piece of paper, like say Cole's at his job and someone hands him a piece of identification that has that, how are you saying that name? Elias or Elias?
I don't even know. It's a weird name.
Well, I would say Elias, but like because everyone in the sub was saying
all the
Elias.
sub says Elias. Yeah.
Elias.
Yeah. Which is
and
like,
that might just be a Japanese thing because
Yeah.
they don't have the same inflections as we do.
I thought most of them were mostly the same, though. It was like Elias, Chisei, Titania,
Ruth.
They're all
Which, like, I think they called him Rutsu in...
it's just because there's no TH sound in Japanese. Yeah. That's one of my favorite, like, anticlimactic moments in the show is when she's, like, coming up with a new name for him, and then she just says, Ruth.
Yeah.
It's
Why?
like, it's like, call my name, Bob.
Yeah, Ruth. Yeah,
Rupert. Yeah.
But it's like,
fits.
Ruth, like, that's a girl's name, though.
That's just what strange. I was thinking. Like if they went for like a unisex name, then I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. But like, I don't know that many men with the name Ruth.
I don't know anyone with the name Ruth.
Yeah.
I only know old women named Ruth.
Oh, okay. Here we go. This is probably relevant to the story.
Okay.
Ruth is a biblical figure. She was a Moabite woman.
Yeah, she.
Yeah. Oh, after the death of all the male members of her family, she stays with her mother-in-law and moves Judah with her, where Ruth wins the love of a wealthy relative through her kindness. Interesting. That's one thing I liked about this show. Sorry to get off the voice acting stuff, but I loved how there's enough like lore going on that if you look into any of these characters, there's kind of a backstory, and they clearly did the research into like somewhat tying it in.
You know what was a really cool moment in the show too was like when the priest met
the fairy
Titania.
Queen? Yeah.
Yeah. And she like says something about she's like how
worshippers of the god of Christ or whatever.
Yeah,
they're not allowed here, and she kicked him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like like there's this like ancient supernatural beings that live in England, and like these like invaders.
The Catholic monk is like this new come invader, right?
Yeah, it's cool. Like the different like dynamics at work in kind of the world as well.
And like she's not really like, I wouldn't say she's like mean to him or anything, but she's just kind of like, go away. I don't want you.
Yeah. She's almost playful with him. Like,
like he's a
even
naughty
after,
child.
Yeah. Elias is like, what's going to happen to him? She's like, he'll just like wander around the woods. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
it's voice acting.
Yeah. Both are good.
Like
both are good.
Elias's voice is great in the dub. That's why every time I say Chisei, I have to stop and say Chisei.
Yeah.
He's got that like super deep voice.
So which one did you watch, Cole?
Oh, sorry. Sub.
Okay.
Sub. Yeah, I didn't watch the dub.
I don't even ask you because I know.
Oh, no. Hold on. I have a story. I watched 1 second of the dub. Then I realized I was watching the dub and went, I got to switch to the sub.
Is that because Crunchyroll has the show listed as like 80 seasons?
No, so for whatever reason, when I try and watch shows on my Switch lately, it automatically plays the dub and I have to switch it over.
They recently introduced a setting you can change your preferences. We'll talk about it off air.
Yeah.
The voice acting's great, and I really like the singing. Chisei singing, is that dubbed?
No, it's the original.
No, that's the original song.
Or what's his name singing? The dragon guy.
All the songs are the same. It's and they did a good job of matching the voice actors so like it's not jarring when it goes. Like I actually had to like stop and be like, is this Japanese or is this like Latin or something? I can't tell.
No, I like that because it's clearly a lullaby that was sung to her by her mother.
Oh yeah,
which would be Japanese.
Yeah.
She
is Japanese.
She's Japanese.
One thing I wanted to ask about the songs, I wanted to ask our good friend Jay, who can understand a little bit of Hebrew. Were some of the songs in Hebrew?
I was actually trying to pick up on that
because like there was one there that definitely was not Japanese. I think when it was the dragon guy singing.
I was trying to pick up on that. I'm honestly not too terribly sure. Because I didn't pick up on any Hebrew, but like there might have been.
It might be Latin because there is kind of some crossover there, but it definitely I can tell you for sure was not Japanese. Like but I was just trying to figure out what it was, and it just kind of like the way the words were felt a little like Hebrew, and I like that. I like because he's like an ancient Elias's master there, Lindell. Like he's even older than Elias, and yeah, it'd be fitting that he would have his own little thing going on there, right?
Is there any other spoiler-free things you guys want to mention before we go in? I'll just mention it's little things that like catch my ear and my eye. Back to like the Foley thing. When like Elias would like close his mouth, there'd be like that subtle like
the little
clicking
like crack
noise.
Yeah.
It's like nice. Like that's what it would sound like if a guy who has a wolf skull for a head would close his mouth.
One there was something I lost it. I lost it.
Visually as well, the show does what like it's definitely like a more mature show, but it cuts to like chibi characters, which is like what Full Metal Alchemist does all the time. And I like that. It kind of punctuates like comedic moments.
You just reminded me of that, Cole. Two things actually. First thing, so while I was watching the show, one of the things I was wondering is, was this mangaka an assistant for Full Metal Alchemist or one of her other works? Because like a lot of the characters look very similar to the creator of Full Metal Alchemist, or like the like chibi thing kind of.
So a lot of same vibes going on,
So I was kind of getting that, like, was she an assistant at some point? And I'm not sure.
I thought you had
the answer.
No, I did look it up and I got nothing, but like it just seems so weird that it looks so similar. But and the other thing,
if anybody knows, let us know.
And another thing that I want to bring up was the world building. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but a lot of my time was spent like trying to figure out what era they were in, like what decade. Because
I think it's modern era.
I think it is modern era, but like
2000s,
yeah, but the thing that I was very interested in is like this is like a high fantasy story for the most part that's set in the modern era with like modern technology and all that. Like Elias has a fridge and like a stove and like all these like, and they look like they're from like the 30s, to be fair.
And I think that's an important plot point, is that like they say like magicians can't do anything. We're not omnipresent. We can only do what we can do. So I mean, if they have access to modern technology as well, they're gonna use it too. I think that's cool. As opposed to like Harry Potter, for example, where the magic world is completely separated. They don't even know anything about like the outside world.
This is, I feel, a little more realistic, where it'd be like, no, they're gonna still use what they can, but they can do more, right? They're gonna use.
It just makes more sense, like if you're hiding, like it's easier to hide like that rather than try to separate yourself completely.
It makes so much more sense to hide in plain sight, right?
In this case,
Since Jay brought up Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and I assume, or just Full Metal Alchemist in general, this might be a good way to end our spoiler-free section by just kind of like going over like our final thoughts and like what we would recommend this show to and what we would recommend this show from. Like if you liked this, you'll probably like this show, or if you like this show, you'll probably like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good idea. And an interesting one, maybe because the character dynamics are kind of similar, like they're two flawed people. A Silent Voice, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
It's
got the depression going on too. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one I kept thinking of, and like this is, so you went for like, if you're into like the main interactions between the two mains, like the one's depressed, one's trying to like get out of it, and blah blah blah, all that going on. Where I kept thinking as I was watching this show more about like I was enjoying all the lore and like world building and how it like delved into all these like mythical creatures and stuff like that. And I couldn't help but think of a show called Mushishi. I don't know if either of you guys have watched it, but the whole premise of that show is kind of the same. Like, there's like a guy, he goes around, it's very episodic, and he just kind of goes around and solves problems caused by spiritual things and like entities and their onis or whatever in that show. And it's just very like the same kind of like serene, kind of surreal at the same time, peaceful but not peaceful, kind of like there's dark stuff bubbling below the surface of this like relatively calm pool type vibes. And I couldn't help but think of like that a lot of the time of this show. But when Jay said Full Metal Alchemist, that also struck a chord too, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, this is clearly like an allegory for like Beauty and the Beast as well.
Okay, yeah.
If you want to a non-anime thing,
Definitely I'd say probably took inspiration from it for sure.
Yeah,
or like
definitely.
even just like classic fairy tales, I'd say.
Oh,
like,
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Like
yeah.
that's definitely a huge influence on this.
Well,
and like
Titania
ancient English.
Titania and Oberon they're not actually like mythical creatures. They're from Shakespeare.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely takes inspiration from like English mythology and stuff, which a lot of people don't remember is like England itself has like ancient mythology
history,
as well.
Yeah. The Celtic stuff, right? And like another good example of that too is also Cartaphilus. Like we're not going to go into spoilers about him, but he was the reason why he is the way he is because Cartaphilus, in biblical terms, is the guy who he was like basically mean to Jesus when he was on the cross, so he's cursed to be in pain forever or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's just it's interesting that they put a lot of thought into it. Anything else you guys could think of?
The one that I thought of for like a recommendation was, and this might be a bit apropos considering the person who this would relate to, but March Comes in Like a Lion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because like of the main character and what they're going through.
And
just kind of like
yeah.
sad person learning to love themselves, accept themselves, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah. I really like that show.
I know.
You know the show that you do also like that I think people who enjoy this show would also enjoy? I think Made in Abyss. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same, but I think it's the same energy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of mysterious things going on. Yeah, I like that. Made in Abyss is a bit more extreme.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same. And like this show, like let's not dance around it. Like it definitely has questionable stuff that happens, right?
Oh yes, yeah.
Which we'll talk about that, I think, in the plot. I mean, if you like shows that I like, I think we say that all the time in reviews. If you like shows that Cole likes, you're gonna like this show
for sure.
Yeah, I think this is just another add it to the list. If you identify with shows that I enjoy, you're probably gonna really like this show as well.
I would go so far as to say that I think there's something for almost anyone here in this show, except for like if you only like shonen action stuff, you're not gonna like this. But
this definitely isn't a shonen battle show.
Yeah. But the people who only watch like Naruto and stuff aren't watching this show anyway.
No.
So
yeah,
that's kind of a pointless recommendation there. But I think almost anybody would enjoy this show. And honestly,
I think it's worth a watch.
I think it's worth at least checking out. At what point would you say if you're not into it, could you drop it?
I'd say by the halfway point.
I kind of agree.
I'd even say episode 3. Like episode 3 is the one that like
it took a while for me to get into it.
I forgot that like there was such a heavy plot point in episode 3, and like that's early, and if that plot point doesn't really hit you, then you're not really, it's not gonna jive with you as much.
I think there is one storyline that we'll talk about more in the spoilers that I think if you didn't like that storyline, that'll probably be where, and it was before the halfway point, so but I think that was episode 6.
Okay. Yeah, like I hate to do the 3 episode rule, but I think in this case, 3 episodes would probably
I'd give it 6, I think.
The
first 3 episodes I felt didn't do a great job of selling the story to me.
And
Shazana said the same thing when we were watching.
I wasn't really hooked by episode 3, but episode 6 was when I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm interested.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm curious what like plot point that was for you guys.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
but,
I said this I think at the beginning. There's one character, and we'll talk about this in spoilers, that when they're on screen, the show was so much more interesting for me.
I think I know who that is, but we should go into the spoiler section now.
Well, I mean, just briefly, I liked it. I really liked it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Michael enjoyed it.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed
Jay enjoyed it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Now spoilers. Big spoilies.
If you liked what you've heard, go and watch the show. Come back. This one, I'd say you probably don't want the spoilers, but it's not. There's nothing too crazy here.
I don't know. Like, I don't think that there's any major. Like, there's one major spoiler point at the end of the show, which I think is pretty important to not know what's going to happen before, but like for the most part, knowing
it's pretty
like
slice of life.
It's pretty psychological. Yeah, it's pretty psychological. So knowing, like, it's about diving into the character rather than what happens in the outside world. Yeah.
But I think going along the journey, not knowing what's coming ahead, is probably how I'd prefer to go into this one. For what it's worth.
I think this boils back down to the spoiler versus not spoiler discussion we had before the break.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't care, keep listening. If you do care, go watch it. It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch.
It's absolutely worth a watch. Now, boys.
Yes.
Spoily time.
Spoilies. Let's address the elephant in the room. Elias purchased Chisei.
Yeah.
Which is questionable.
Very questionable.
Ultra questionable. See, this is like one of the, I feel like this is the hot debate in anime these days.
Yeah,
where
it
like
happens all the time.
Anime, for some reason, loves having people buy slaves. And then this one does the thing where it skirts around it, similar to Shield Hero, where they skirt around it by being like, oh yeah, slaves are bad, but this one's good because he saves her. And it's like, it's still just
see. I wasn't too terribly upset with it because he doesn't really have human emotions. So like he's not really like supposed to be like a good guy.
Yeah, you don't have to justify it because he's not human.
Yeah, he's just doing it. He's just doing it as a means. He's to just like, this is interesting. Like, yeah.
This is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
In
he
quotation
literally calls
marks.
her like a puppy. So like you're not really like, you're supposed to get that like he's not really morally right doing what he's doing.
No.
And that's deviating now a little bit into characters. That's why I really like the characters in this, is because Elias is frankly like a child.
Yeah, no, they say it multiple times in the show that he
throws temper tantrums, but he doesn't know what he's doing, you know? Like he's like an emo kid. He's like an emo high schooler.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, my girlfriend's mad at me, I'm just going to throw this hissy fit. But he also possesses like incredible powers, so like when he throw a hissy fit, it's like really
danger.
Bad.
Yeah. I thought that was kind of one of the coolest things about this show was like, I'm a sucker for like when a character is very morally gray. And I think everybody in this show is pretty morally gray. Like they're all kind of good people, but I just think that's so true to like the average person. Everybody on Earth is for the most part morally gray. Like they do good things generally, but they once in a while will do things you're like, oh, that's not great. You know what I mean? And Elias is like a perfect example of that, because he is, like you said, like a child. Like he doesn't really understand what's going on. He doesn't understand emotions. Like he literally asks, like, is this what this is? Is this what I feel? Is this excitement? Is this what that feels like?
He describes his emotions in like how he's physically feeling rather than like the actual emotion behind it.
Yeah.
Which,
like a person learning about like a robot learning about emotions almost.
Yeah.
I mean, I empathize.
It's a very apt description that he's teaching her magic and she's teaching him how to be a human.
Right.
Yeah, I think the thing with Elias is he's neither good nor evil.
Yeah.
He's very gray. He is apathetic. He just doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Which is very true when you look at like old mythology and stuff like that. Like a lot of the quote unquote old gods are kind of like that. They're just kind of they'll do things. They don't really care too much about whether they're the right thing or wrong thing. They're just what they want to do.
Yeah.
Like when he bought Chisei, I don't think he really, when he said you're gonna be my bride, I don't think he really knew what that meant.
What a bride was. No, absolutely
I don't think
not.
he knew what he was doing. He just saw like a cool toy and bought it, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like when the fairy took her away, he follows her and he says like, I gave her a leash and a bell. And it was the necklace.
Yeah, the necklace.
Yeah.
Which I like. By the end of it, he doesn't have it on her anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very like, that's the thing. It's about Chisei learning to love herself.
Yeah.
And Elias learning to like allow her to be her own person as well.
And I thought it was cool because this show did what, like we talked about before about Full Metal Alchemist, and one of the things that I really like about it, and it let the characters develop not only mentally, but like you can physically see a difference in the characters. If you look at Chisei at the beginning of the show versus at the end, she like looks fuller. Her eyes are like sparklier. Her hair is longer. She just looks like they go through physical character development too, which is just a great thing, right?
Yeah, Elias doesn't, but
because he's unchanging and ancient, right?
Yeah,
he
like chooses that form.
Yeah.
Now, Jay, I want to ask you something.
Sure.
Before we went into the spoilies, you said that there was one character in this show that you thought made the entire show better when they were on the screen, and I want to know who that is. And I have a guess.
Joseph. Oh.
Yes, Joseph. That's who I was going to say. What's his old name? I said it earlier. Cardophilus.
Yeah. Cardophilus,
yeah.
I thought that was so cool too.
I
when
thought he was
like,
the coolest
calls
character
him,
too.
Yeah.
When he calls him that and he like freaks out.
And he's like, I don't go by that name anymore.
And it's like they're both freaking out at each other.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
And they
like
teased
Elias
it too.
going like alpha mode is like one of the coolest things in the show.
Yeah. And like scary too at the same time.
It's frightening. Yeah.
But just going on that, episode 6, the reason I said that was the good stopping point, and I know Cole was a bit curious about that, is the whole thing with the husband and wife, and like how he was killing the cats, and like this is all because Joseph was manipulating him to do that.
It's definitely a macro moment in the show for sure.
Yeah.
Whereas
like,
the moment for me that I'm gonna talk about is a micro moment. Sorry.
So like a majority of the show is a man versus self story about Chisei like trying to get over her trauma, whereas like this feels a lot more man versus man, where like she had like there's an actual
there's a protagonist and an antagonist.
Yeah. So like it felt more like there was a bit more suspense, more intrigue, more just tangible stuff to grasp rather than.
And I think kind of like sidling on to what you've said, I think at that point, for the first 3 episodes, and the reason why I didn't think it was great is because the first 3 episodes, like we kind of alluded to before, it's very exposition heavy because it needs to cover a lot of ground before it can even start doing anything else, right? And where like in like episodes, it was maybe 4 and 5, or I don't remember exactly what it was, but that whole little arc with where she meets Ruth and then you meet Cardophilus, and you kind of see that's the first time you really see like the bigger picture outside of Elias just buying Chisei, and then they kind of get to know what's going on. And I think that's where you can really, if you're not into it after that little arc, I think that's where you can drop it. And I think that's where I personally liked this show best, is the little arcs, and where like something would happen and then they just kind of like work through it, and then something else would happen, so they'd work through it. Those little episodic things are great.
Yeah, you guys are probably right. I'll concede this one. Episode 6, when the plot starts rolling is probably the point, where most people would know. But the part that I really like that kind of hit me as like, holy crap, they're doing something like this early in the show, is when what's the old dragon's name?
Silas.
Oh, when he turns into a tree.
The old one.
Oh yeah, the one that turns into a tree.
Neville or something like that.
Yeah, Neville.
Yeah. When
Long
he
bottom.
dies and like they have like she uses her magic to like let him like fly one last time, and then he can like die
they
at
share
peace.
a dream together. Yeah.
It's so like heavy, you know? And I had forgotten that something like that happens so early in the show. And that really, like, the main plot of the show is about Chisei learning to overcome her trauma, and that's like the first major step in that, right?
Yeah.
It's the dragon like talking to her about how like, I'm glad that you didn't, or what is the line, like, you tried to fly, and I'm glad that you didn't, when she tries to not be alive anymore,
tries to unalive herself. That's another thing that I really like in like very early on, you'll get to see like just little flashes of like her in her sailor uniform and like her with her mother and things like that. And like it didn't tell you that, it just showed it to you, and
it implies
to it. Yeah.
And like it in one of my notes I wrote like show don't tell, and like this show,
I think that was a good
decent.
example of showing don't tell.
It's a good example of show and then let people kind of like simmer on it and then tell them when they're like kind of like build up to it, right? Because they do eventually just tell you, right? There's that whole episode.
Oh yeah, like they build up to the, like by the end of the show, like they're showing like what's going through the mother's head when this happens, and I really like that. It's almost
I like that scene.
I hesitate to say redeeming because like it's
she's not
it's more
unacceptable
humanizing.
what she did.
It's more humanizing, I'd say.
Yeah.
But you sympathize and understand why the mother did that, and that she was so ashamed with herself that she ended up doing what she did.
Yeah.
Which is what Chisei says to her, right? She says basically like,
I
can't forgive you.
Yeah.
But I kind of understand now, and at least
yeah.
I can move on, right? I'm letting you let me go with your, if you let your hands go from my neck,
Yeah,
I'm letting
you go.
I'm gonna move on now. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. This show is so like, that's the stuff that I really really like.
Yeah.
Is that, and that I think that's why I enjoyed the show maybe more than you guys did. Was it really? I like the internal struggle that Chisei goes through more than the external struggle.
You are a sucker for the sad boy
Joseph.
or girl.
You're a big sucker for man versus self stories.
Yeah.
And I like the dynamic between Chisei and Elias.
Yeah.
Where I think this show captured me and Shazana was like, yes, that stuff was good, but I think we're a sucker for like really good world building, where this show does an excellent job by leaning on like other mythologies and stuff,
absolutely.
by just working it into its world, and like doing a good job of showing you stuff and making you, and being enough, it's almost a mystery, the show. Like you're constantly wondering like, what is Elias? What are these guys doing? What are their motivations?
That's what I was going to get into. Like, I was very, very intrigued in Elias's mystery.
Yeah,
like, who
it doesn't
he
really
was,
tell you by the end.
What he is.
What he is, like
It
why
doesn't
he's
tell you at
there,
all
how
what he
he
is.
learned magic. And yeah, you don't know everything.
Has any of us read further ahead other than Cole watching the next couple episodes?
I've only read the first 3 volumes.
Okay, so none of us actually know what Elias is then, right?
And it's ongoing. Like it might not.
Okay.
It might not even say what he is.
So
it's on
because
a
we
hiatus
don't-
right now.
Because we don't know, why don't we just like take a random
Speculate?
Speculate, yeah.
I think he's like a chimera. Like he's a combination between a fairy and a man.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's something like that, or like they tried to. I think maybe like Titania maybe like tried like mating with a human or something, and he's like
Maybe.
the result, or someone.
So
because he has a human heart, they've kind of alluded to it a few times.
So do you
right?
remember that one line that the doctor said, where she said, "If you're in the fairy realm for long enough, you cease to be a human."
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
So,
that's what-
so I think
like,
that he was in the fairy realm for a long time, which made him into what he is, and then he was kicked out, and that's why he was in the forest.
or maybe he's like a human born in the fairy realm.
Yeah,
Maybe.
And then he like grew up there and didn't.
But the thing is, like, he talks about how like sometimes he has cravings to like eat humans.
Yeah,
so he's
that's
clearly
true, too.
some kind of monstrous thing, and they all call him half baked.
Yeah. They always call him,
All of the fairies call him like half made, half baked. Like
Okay,
he's
that's
not.
interesting. That might be a sub versus dub thing, because in the dub they call him halfling.
Yeah, like basically the implication is the same. Like he's neither human nor fairy. He's he's his own thing, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. I think just like the mystery of Elias was just like a really interesting.
Yeah, because you have that going on while you're also like, you have the A plot again of Chisei dealing with her life being horrible, right?
Yeah.
And then there's enough B plots going on that you're constantly like, what's going on there? What's happening here? What's going on with this Cartophilis guy now? Why does he hate that name? And you're just, there's enough going on that it keeps you interested and entertained while you also watch the relatively like slow burn that is Chisei coming to terms with who she is and what she's happened to her, right?
Yeah, and I think that the various slice of life stories that were happening while she was going through that weren't really my thing, but like the overall her getting over her own traumas and things like that was a lot more interesting to me.
Yeah. What about this confused me quite a bit, and maybe it was just I couldn't comprehend what I was reading in the subs, but the differences between mages and sorcerers.
Oh,
does that make any sense to you guys?
So I thought that was very interesting. So to me, the way they described it is mages use magic, and it's a lot more borrowing miracles from the fairies and things like that. And like it seemed to me like it was a lot more like an apt description of magic, where magic is just phenomena that occur that cannot be explained by science. Whereas sorcery, it seemed like they were using more science and scientific methods to reach that same conclusion.
I have a question. When you guys are saying sorcerers, who are you talking about?
Like
are they called, not mages? Are they called philosophers or alchemists in the dub?
In the dub, I think who you're referring to are called alchemists, which maybe is a more fitting term, because they kind of do.
It might be. Yeah,
they do more alchemy, I would say, because like Jay was saying, they do more science-based and like ingredient-based stuff.
Yeah, I think it finally clicked for me actually in season 2, where somebody finally explained mages they basically work in a partnership with the fairies, and they ask the fairies to help them do magic, whereas sorcerers or alchemists, whichever you prefer, use magic in themselves, so there's a limited supply of it.
I thought of an app
to manipulate the world.
Okay, actually, so that's more D&D based then.
Mike, I just thought of an apt way to describe it. It's like in the beginning after the end, where you're using your own mana from your core versus with your beast will.
Okay, yeah.
If you
similar
get what I mean.
that.
Yeah, if you will.
Like I was going to say, D&D has kind of the same thing going on, where you can play either as a wizard or a sorcerer. And a wizard is someone who like channels things around them, whereas a sorcerer is someone who uses like their internal
familiar.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of neat.
Yeah, and the sorcerers get familiars, like that's what Ruth is Chise's familiar. And sorry, did I say
you said sorcerer, but you meant
I meant
mage.
Mages.
They kind of mix it a little bit in this one. It's not quite. I think
the sorcerers. It's cool in season 2 because basically they say like sorcerers can do what mages do, but not the other way around, kind of thing.
Okay.
So like sorcerer could get a familiar if they have that aptitude to do that. But again, like we're just talking about like world building in the show. Like there's enough there to like.
There's a lot of meat on this
an entire episode. Yeah,
to like drive the whole show in and of itself. Did you guys watch any of Jay?
No.
I know you didn't. I'm not even asking.
I didn't either watch any of the OVAs.
No.
I plan to.
That was the thing I wanted to cover in the spoiler-free thing, and I completely forgot. Mike, are you going to continue watching the show?
Yes, I think this is probably a good. Let's save that for after we do our ratings. But first, I think we should do our best boy and girl. For the show.
Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna do the boring answer, but I think it's the right answer. Chise and Elias.
You're so lame. You always pick the two.
I know. But in this case, like obviously Chise, like she is just as a character right up my alley. My alley.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Like sad boy. In this case, it's basically just sad girl to like cranked up to 10. And Elias is just so interesting to me. Like he's got so much like. So much meat on the bones, if you'll forgive my pun.
No. I'm happy you made that pun.
Yeah, okay. Meat on the bone.
Yeah, meat on the bone.
And like there's so much mystery there to dive into. And I like how, he like just throws these like hissy fits, and he's like, why am I doing this? And then she'll be like, oh, I think you're just jealous.
Yeah, it's like obvious to a human watching.
Yeah.
Oh, should we address that? The big what I said would be a big spoiler.
I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Is it when she gets his eye?
No. No. When Elias is basically about to sacrifice her friend
Stella. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And she like loses it on him.
Yeah,
she's like,
fairly.
no, what are you doing? Like, and that's the moment where Elias is like truly scary.
Yeah.
And they even like as a director's choice, they even make him scary, right? Like he's backlit.
He's imposing,
towering
like,
over her.
The glowing red eyes, like,
and he's just like, what's the problem? Like, I just want to make sure you're alive.
and okay.
I don't care about this person.
Yeah, he's thinking like very logically, but not with human emotions, right?
Very cold. Yeah, very like utilitarian. Like,
And
this is
he
this
also-
is my goal.
Yeah.
I don't care what I have to do it.
Yeah, and he also like convinces Ruth to follow through because he's like, at the end of the day, who are you going to protect? And he's like, I'm gonna protect Chisei.
Yeah,
She's
and
my...
I think that's such a huge plot moment in the show. Like, arguably just as big as any other moment.
I would say. The only thing
I'd
is
say
that
so.
I felt, this is one of the negative things I thought of the show, is they kind of just brush over it by the end. It kind of doesn't really change much at the end of the day.
A little bit. Like,
It
they
changes
never
what we
really had
think
like
of
an
them.
argument. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think what happens is that Elias understands that Chisei can make her own decisions because the fairies offer to bring her in because she'll live longer in the fairy world with that dragon curse. And he says, no, it's up to her. I'll do whatever she wants to do. And that's why he learned that, is because she got so upset. So it's not that it was brushed over. I agree. It kind of moved fast because the next plot thing happened at that point.
It's just the nature of the show.
It did have a lasting impact narratively on Elias.
Yeah, how you see him, right?
And how he sees Chisei.
I'm just basically saying, I felt like it needed maybe, and it might come up later in the story, but I don't know. But I felt like it kind of, I'm just picturing, let's say I'm dying and you go to kill Jay to save me.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be more of a conversation than just like, oh, I didn't like that. Okay, sorry. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I do agree. Yeah. It's they probably could have done more. I don't want to say narratively, but just conflict-wise between Chisei and Elias.
I mean, it kind of was a running thing. Like, when she brought up that he eats people, and he kind of like points his wand at her and is like, you don't need to remember that.
Yeah, he kind of doesn't really treat, again, like we said at the beginning, she's more akin to a pet than a bride.
Yeah, it's all about, again, Chisei learning to overcome her trauma, and Elias learning that Chisei is an individual with her own
a strong,
feelings.
independent woman.
Yeah, she is a strong, independent woman.
She don't
She's a
need
great
no
character.
giant sack of bones. Jay, who are your best boy and girl?
Best boy, Ruth. What? Okay. So if we're going,
I figured
Ruth,
you go with the goddamn dog.
But if we're going off of like who was the character that when they were on screen I was the most interested, I would say Joseph. But like just like personal taste, I'd say Ruth. I think Ruth was a good boy.
I think either one of those answers would be a good one.
Yeah,
honestly,
I think you can't go wrong with anyone in this show, except for the main characters.
Yeah, except for the main characters.
Because it's boring.
Who's your best girl, Jay?
Who does that? Best girl. Just because like I totally understood her vibes. Silky. I loved her story.
I knew Jay would love Silky.
I loved her story of like how the fairies like helped her find a home. And
it
then,
was really cute.
And like when Chisei and Elias come home, she just like runs up and gives her a hug.
Yeah, it was very. Silky is very sweet.
Silky, honestly, is like my runner-up for my best girl. I'd say it was really close to picking her because like her and this episode where they go into her backstory is great too.
Yeah.
Mike,
for me, for best boy, I'm gonna go with Lindell, the dragon guy. I don't know. I just liked his vibe. I liked what he was doing. He's got a whole like dragon land going on. He's like, doesn't really want to teach Elias, but at the same time, he's like, I'm fine. I will, whatever.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like on the sidelines doing his own thing. I like his vibe. And then for best girl is more of a competition. I honestly, aside from my objection of taking the main character because it's boring, I honestly don't think Elias or Chisei are the most interesting characters to me.
Yeah.
Like, for just purely from like you stick them in a lineup and I'm gonna point at them and say that's my guy. I'm probably not gonna pick either of them. I was close to picking Oberon as my best boy, but I think
Oberon's fun.
Oberon's fun. I like both of them, but I will go with Titania as my best girl for this show.
Yeah, I think Mike's got a thing for the big booba. That's all.
That's all.
Mike just likes big booba.
No, she's got. You know what? I like her energy. She has
like an imperiumism to her, like
Yeah.
she
has
Yeah,
mommy
what?
energy.
she's like queen-like.
She's
Yeah.
queen. Yeah, she's like
very
very
regal.
regal.
Yeah.
She's very
Regal.
like aloof at the same time, but also
Imperial.
like
Mhm.
caring. She's got like clearly plans going on. She's very powerful, but she still cares deeply about everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought she was like a super interesting character, and I'd probably basing a character on a Shakespeare character is probably just a good move if you
Yeah.
want to have an interesting character, right?
Yeah.
So I have a question for you boys. Now that we've gone over that, what was your favorite moment from the show?
Favorite moment from the show.
Because I
It's a
have
big
one.
one to drop right at the end. Why don't you say yours while we think?
Okay,
Yeah.
so mine was with the old man and when he was dying, and
I like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised
She
you didn't
goes-
pick. I'm surprised neither of you picked the bloodsucker
Vampire
there.
girl?
Yeah.
Because she isn't she voiced by Sarah Mihayami too? Cole?
Yes,
Yeah.
she is. I'm
Yeah.
surprised Jay hasn't said that yet.
Yeah.
Look, I love her, and like I really did want to pick her, but at the end of the day,
She's like the sidest of side
Yeah,
characters, but
that's
that
kinda-
plot moment was really cool.
yeah,
Not cool. It was really
it was sweet.
hitting.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
very sweet. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna go with that episode 3 where the whole conversation between Neville and Chisei.
I think I'm with Cole on that one. I think I
Like
agree.
make a branch out of me when you need, or make a wand out of one of my branches when you need me, and then he's just like peace, I'm done.
Yeah.
See ya.
Mhm.
And the cool thing too is like between the Nevin and Lindell,
Nevin.
those are really like the two
Yeah.
people who like really kind of raised Chisei, because they keep bringing up in the show too that like Elias does not do a good job of explaining things to
No.
her.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like he's good at explaining like magic to her, but that's pretty much all he
Mhm.
knows.
Whereas
Yeah.
Lindell does a good job of like raising her and like teaching her what it means to be a mage and like
It's
things
also a
she
little
should know.
weird because like there are times where Lindell, like there was that one time where Lindell was like, I want to see my granddaughter, and it's like, but isn't
maybe
he,
that's a
she's
sub
supposed
thing.
to
I don't
be
remember
his
that.
bride?
No, it's weird because they call Chisei Elias's chick
Daughter? Yeah.
daughter constantly,
Yeah.
but she's also his
So
apprentice
And his
and
bride.
also his bride and also kind of his mother in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very
And definitely
strange.
very very complex relationships, and that's why I like this show so much.
Yeah.
Mike,
But-
what was what's
Oh, my favorite
What's
moment
your
I said is
number
the
one
same
moment?
as yours. I liked when
Oh, okay.
I liked just basically that whole little arc with her and Nevin.
I love that cliffhanger on episode 2 too, when
Which is
she
what?
gets, they're like walking through Iceland and then that dragon comes and grabs her.
Oh,
yes.
And you're like,
yeah.
oh my god, what's going on?
Yeah.
yeah, that's good.
And then it turns out he's just a goofy dragon guy.
Yeah, just a silly dragon boy who is also Elias's teacher. What is
Yeah.
your final rating for the show?
You guys can go ahead.
Okay, so for the listeners, we rate our shows 1 through 5, 5 being a protagonist, 1 being a antagonist, and then
Yeah.
3 being like a background character, 4 being a supporting, blah blah blah. I think for this show, I'm somewhere between protagonist and supporting. I
Mhm.
think I have to go. I have to go with protagonist. It's closer to that 5 than it is a 4, I think. So, yep. Protagonist energy here. Jay?
Supporting. It's an interesting package, but it is a bit slow, and it does have those moments that just like kind of lost me. So
Yeah. I think either one, like obviously big protagonist energy from me. That's why I let you guys go. I can see why a support, like it would get a supporting from some people because it's definitely slow.
Yeah.
But if you like shows that have a lot of meat on the bones, as they say, then
mhm.
you'll enjoy this show, I think.
There's
I don't
enough
think it would-
there. Yeah.
I don't think it's if somebody says no, this is a bad show, I would probably
Disagree.
argue with them.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Politely disagree. I know that I think it's maybe higher than the average, but I don't think it's bad
Mhm.
at all.
No, like we
I-
said
I-
earlier,
I-
recommend it to everybody.
The average score on any list is like a 78, and I think that's an apt.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
maybe low, but it just yeah.
I'd probably put it at like an 82 is what I would guess. I mean, personally, I think it's like a 9 plus, but I know that's just me.
I actually just rated it. I rated the story an 8, characters a 9.5, visuals 8, and enjoyment an 8, which added up to 8.4, which I feel perfect for me right there.
Yeah, I think I've got it at a 9.1, something like that.
You have it in a 9.
Do I? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Of course, Jay would know.
He does the most research for sure.
Oh, don't worry, I looked.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we
I think
usually...
you should tell them where they can find us.
Well, they can find us specifically. Hold on, I'll get our addresses pulled up here.
Oh, just a quick reminder that if that you can also vote for our next review, and you can do that basically anywhere. Anywhere. Also on YouTube in our community tab, do that there too.
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, you could find these things at our social medias, at AniPro Pod. You can follow me specifically at AniPro Cole. That's ANIPROCOLE. Michael, where can I follow you?
Me at Gritty Gundam, GRITTYGUNDAM. Jay, tell the people where they can find Sleepy Jay.
You can find me at Jay Garedian. That's JayGaredian.
Leave a like, review, subscribe, tell a friend all about us. Of course, come to our Discord. You can vote on our next review. We will make sure that Jay watches it in a timely fashion. Links to everything is at our website at not at AniProPod, just AniProPod.com. Thanks for listening.
Do we want to remind the listeners what the three choices are?
Yeah.
Sure. I picked Ergo Proxy.
Yeah, I picked Grand Blue Dreaming. Mine and Cole are 12 episodes.
No, mine's 24.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, you masochists.
I picked Penguin Drum, which is also 24 episodes.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But anyway,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, thanks for listening to another episode of the AniPro podcast. We say, as we do at the end of every episode, bye-bye.
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 Bye-bye.